Let me ask you about this. You worked for 22 years in like your mainstream media, I guess. What
30 years mainstream media.
30 years, right.
27 years covering Arizona as a journalist and an anchor. And 22 of those years, my last 22, for the Fox affiliate.
When did it go wrong?
I think the media really, there were always places you could work that were more liberal. I mean, obviously CNN, crazy. But, you could also say Fox is more reasonable if you're conservative. And at least I believe it was a great place to work. But I think when President Trump came on the scene, candidate Trump in 2015, when he came down the escalator, that's when I noticed people in media, and I'm talking all of the networks, starting to really lose it. Even people that I thought were really reasonable, I'm like, why are you so upset about this guy? He has a right to run. He meets the qualifications to run. Who cares if he runs?
Right.
But it was a complete, as I like to say, he cracked the shells off the nuts.
Do you think that they didn't like Trump, or that they wanted Hillary to win so bad that they didn't like whoever was coming, and it just turned out to be Donald Trump, and then they turned him into a boogeyman?
I don't know. I wonder if they had a deep fear that, oh my gosh, this guy could win, and our lady won't win, the one we want. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it.
Was there a feeling at Fox or anywhere that you were that there was like an agenda to get a certain person elected?
Well, let me put it this way. When you work in media, 90%, maybe 95% are liberal for sure, and a big chunk of them are leftist, socialists. So you know how we feel about our candidates. If all of a sudden a newsroom was 95% hardcore conservative, it would change the way things work. But 95% being liberal, they're like, oh gosh, we don't like this guy.
Did you see around the time when so it was around 2016 you started to feel like things were changing?
It just went really crazy when Trump came around. And then I really think it went to a whole new level with COVID. And I believe that initially the 15 days to slow the spread, I think where we were all kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? Okay, I'm willing to slow things down for 15 days if we're going to. I mean, I was reading the news and believing it. And we're seeing Fauci come out. Who's this new scientist guy? Oh my gosh, we got to wipe our groceries down, put our masks on. I mean, I believed it all.
Be afraid of our fellow neighbors and people
Be
next
afraid.
to us.
And I work in a neighborhood, and I did a PragerU video, and I really kind of lay out what happened in the media and what brought me to walking away from a very large, comfortable paycheck and, great benefits to just walk away from that. It has to be something pretty bad.
Did you notice around this time that younger people were coming into the workforce? Like, were you seeing more millennials join your office, your newsroom?
Yeah, and I talk a little bit about that. There was a shift and this also plays into how media changed. There was a shift in losing some of the older, more established reporters and journalists. And I think it's because corporate media took over and there used to be a lot of regional news. A company here and a company there owned it. And then it became, now 5 or 6 corporations own all the media. They bought up all these smaller outlets. Maybe you had a family who owned 3 stations. They bought that up and they just started accumulating more and more media over the years. And this happened in the 80s and 90s. And when they accumulated more, they wanted to pare down the bottom line. So let's say, Tim, you're a 50-year-old seasoned journalist who's been at the station covering the city you live in for a long time. And they go, Tim, you're making $120,000, and we're hiring people right out of this college, ASU, for $40,000. We can hire 3 people for the price of you.
Yep.
And they start making your life miserable, and saying no to every story you want to cover. And pretty soon Tim goes, I don't want to work for this.
And guess what? Those 3 millennials who've got journalism degrees are very, air quotes right there.
Theater degrees.
They're going
social
to be
justice warriors.
Going to be communists.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you my thoughts on that. And this is why I asked. Based on what I had seen when I was working for some of these companies, it was when they were bringing in more and more young people, younger millennials, is when they started to have a bigger influence on the culture. And what I discovered when I was, managing, I was never a manager, but when I was working with younger people.
You're a manager now.
Definitely now. Okay. I mean, I'm the CEO of a company, but not that it's a big company. But what I found is many of these young people had never had a job in their lives.
Right.
They had never worked. And so what happens is they go to school from kindergarten all the way up until they're 22 or 24. They've always been told what to do and by someone in charge. Mm-hmm. So they have no, they not within them, they do not have the I'll figure this out attitude. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not driven. Quite literally, I experienced when working with these people is they'd come up to you and say, just tell me what to do. And I would say, you need to figure it out. Like, here's your problem. That's on you. I did not hire you so that I could solve problems for you.
And they
You're
were
hired to do
given
a job.
freedom as a child because of fear that the media put in. Oh my gosh, don't let your kid ride their bike. There could be a bad guy who wants to nab them. And there are bad guys out there, don't get me wrong. But when I was growing up, we had tons of freedom. My parents would say, get the heck out of the house and don't come back in here until we call you. And no matter, and we would go out and play and
Maybe that's the secret, because I had that too.
They didn't have any of that freedom to grow up and learn all these little things.
And now CPS is showing up at people's homes because they had their children walk home from school. That was literally a case that happened here in the United States. Yeah, I think also, I mean, we talk about the corporate media a lot, but I think we also have to acknowledge big tech social media and the algorithms, I think, play more of an imperative role to the development of young children, especially with parents literally throwing their phone at a baby just to keep them occupied, showing them their latest kind of Hollywood propaganda, that usually probably could have been produced by someone like Harvey Weinstein or some other sicko or creepo. And I think we have to understand when there's algorithms, they are literally shaping people's perceptions of reality. And when they do that, they could shape your reality to whatever they want. And I think they did it. They did it in such a twisted way where we're seeing record high suicides, record high depressions, record high mental health issues. And I think that's done deliberately because when you have someone who's not happy, when you have someone who's not healthy, they're going to be someone that's going to be dependent on someone. Who's going to be that dependent? The state, the government, rather than, of course, the parents, the family members, the individuals who are standing up for each other as responsible human beings. We don't have that anymore. We have the state as the mom and dad of people's lives.
And we saw so many of people move into having the state control their life during COVID. They left, the job had to close down. They left. They're getting paid. They're sitting home. And now the people who got back out there and got to work are being told, get the jab, if I can say that, or lose your job, with the mandates that are out right now. And so this is, we're taking the final group of people who are the working engine in this society, and they're trying to get them to walk away from their job. And it's really frightening. And then what do you do? If they say, get the job or leave your job, and you say, no, I'm not going to get that. I don't want to, whatever the reason being, you want your freedom, you walk away. Now you're on the system. They're destroying the working class.
Are you familiar with the band The Offspring?
No.
You never heard of them? So they're actually...
Can you sing a few lines?
I'm separated. You know that one from the 90s. Maybe you don't.
I definitely could, and I'd like to. And I actually... I don't... Anyway. They're a very big band. They're very big. They were super huge in the 90s.
Like
they
pop
had...
punk.
Yeah. They had the largest record sales, or most amount of records sold for any independent label ever.
Now I'm embarrassed that I don't. I probably will hear it.
You know the
out.
song "Pretty Fly for a White Guy"?
It's a great song.
No, what else? I don't know.
Anyway,
Look, they had their drummer was actually kicked out of the band because he had Guillain-Barré syndrome, and you can't get the vaccine. Well, the doctor at least said, "You're not a candidate for you can't get this because." If you have Guillain-Barré syndrome, they're worried you can get nerve issues.
Right.
And so when I guess when he talked to the band, or I don't know exactly what happened. All I know is ultimately he ends up kicked out of the band for that reason. It became kind of a big issue in the news, a little bit for those that are interested in music. But that one to me was kind of the most insane. Now, I was on Joe Rogan's show, and he was saying to me that, well, look, man, that's tough because venues won't let you perform with someone who's unvaccinated. And I was like, I hear you. So this band, The Offspring, is a business. They have an employee. They need to go to venues to sell their product. And many of these venues are like, if you're not vaccinated, you can't come in. It's insane to me that someone first of all, it's insane to me there's a mandate, period. Mm-hmm. But to actually tell someone who's got a medical condition, you will lose your job because of your medical condition, I thought that was illegal. And look, it's a clever workaround, I suppose. If the venue won't let you in, the band can be like, we're not letting you go. You just can't work for us anymore. But if it were me, and this is why I don't know the story from, the main guys at The Offspring. Dexter Holland's the main guy, and then, his guitarist Noodles. I don't know what their side of the story is, but based on what I've heard, if this dude said, look, my doctor says I can't get it, and they said, get out, you're fired, that's scumbaggery. That is wrong.
You know what you do? Travis Tritt is that the country star who said, I'm not going to perform at these arenas that are mandating my fans come and show any vaccine mandate or show any vaccine passport, or that my staff, my band members. We're in tough times right now. We're in times where we have to make difficult choices. And that might mean walking away from a paycheck or walking away from a payday for this band. If we don't start standing up and doing the right thing, what's the next step?
Comedian Jim Brewer also did that as well. Yeah. Jim Brewer also did that.
I just want to point out, again, to stress, I don't know exactly what went on with this band, and I want to be careful because for all I know, like they were throwing pies at each other and then people get fired. People get fired sometimes. But if operating under the assumption that there is a band worth millions of dollars, if you Google search the net worth of Dexter Holland, it's $80 million. That doesn't mean it really is, but the dude is particularly wealthy. Mm-hmm. You've got a drummer, I think, who played with him for over a decade, I think like 14 years. And all of a sudden this thing happens where it's like venues aren't going to let you in. It is mind-blowing to me. And this is where I say, like, economically, I'm probably lefty. I would never do that to somebody. If I had a company that was worth $80 million and we had cash and the government came down, I would do two things. The first, I'd say, then we will only play venues that don't have this. And if for some reason we have no choice because there's a city with fans and we have to play, I will find a session drummer for this show. Buddy, you've been with us for over a decade. I will not let you down. I can't fathom a reality in which there are people who are like, I may be worth $80 million, but screw you, you're fired because of what they're doing with this mandate. That to me is sickening.
Well, and that's a good solution. Okay, if we have to perform, we've got fans who want to see us. We have our band, we bring somebody in, you pay the guy who's part of the band for how many years, and then you don't fire him. People are going to be sued later because we're going to find out this is all unconstitutional.
Yeah, and I think that's why.
And this band has to someday, and I don't know if you're religious, meet their maker. And you're going to meet your maker and you're going to say, I did the right thing or I did the wrong thing. Or you're going to look at your kids one day and say, when this country, hopefully we're saved, you're going to say, I was part of saving this country.
This is supposed to be a punk band. And it is the antithesis of punk rock.
It sounds like a personality issue. It's just too weird to not be.
I don't know, man. After 14, 15 years,
yeah,
I don't believe so.
But don't these bands make all their money by performing live now? I heard that, with the record labels, you're not making what you think these guys would make, so they have to perform live.
Some of the people from the 90s got grandfathered in, and they're still raking it in with
But wouldn't being
deals.
a punk band, wouldn't it be so much cooler to say, you know what? We're going to go to this arena, and no, screw it, we're not going there. Right. We're going to somebody find a big field. What at Tim's house out here with all this land, and we're going to do our
Freedomistan.
Right.
We got 50 acres.
We're going to Freedomistan.
That's what we're doing. And that's why Luke came up with the name. This is our Freedomistan.
Are you holding concerts there?
We are going to.
That's great.
Well, hopefully it's West Virginia, so nobody really cares.
You can do anything you want.
You almost can.
Well, when we drove out here, I was like, "Is this a Blair Witch Project? Yeah. What's going on here?"
We are a few miles.
Like that.
We are a few miles away from where they filmed Blair Witch. Right. Apparently, that's what I was told. Yeah.
I can't believe how thick the forest is out here.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
I mean, you can't even walk through it probably without hitting a tree.
We had a bear attack. We had a bear. So we have a chicken coop. It's very nice in front of the house.
It's bigger than my house.
No, that's New Chicken City.
Okay.
The ruins of old Chicken City are in front.
The rubble.
And it's the old. But we had a bear. I guess. Look, with the lockdowns, there's less refuse. Animals become more desperate, and a bear actually. This is basically our front porch. So you have our front porch, and then to the left is where the coop is, and a bear came and actually tried ripping it open. And we had people around us being like, there was a bear through the neighborhood, and we saw the metal ripped off, and we were like, that was the bear.
Uh-oh. Thanks
for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.